This month on the Unsquared Circle, Vince McMahon blacklists the CCW. Who knocked JBL out? And is Kurt Angle really already talking about his WWE return? Here are the hosts who find it all so you don't have to, Bobby Black and Wrestling White.
Season's greetings from the Unsquared Circle. We're your hosts. I'm Bobby Black.
And I'm Wrestling White.
And as you can tell, we are ready for the season. We've got our hats, our colors, and our tree. But
yeah, if we feel a little uncomfortable being here, we're more comfortable at our desk. So if you just give us a minute. Oh, wow. What point engaged? I hope that's not the first of many to come.
it gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Now I know how Jean-Luc Picard feels.
That's probably why he lost his hair.
Yeah, he kept on doing it and got so addicting that now he got handicapped and he's in a wheelchair in a mansion in New York with a whole bunch of mutants.
Oy, oy, oy. Alright, well, let's move on to our top stories. Well, let's start off with WWE news. A major altercation took place with Joey Styles and JBL this past month during their annual trip to Iraq for the Tribute to the Troops program. JBL, who is notorious for being a bully backstage, chose Joey Styles to be a victim of his pranks. In the entire trip, JBL was insulting Joey Styles in front of all the soldiers and all the WWE staff. JBL intentionally spilled a drink all over Joey Styles, as a matter of fact. After taking the abuse a few days, Styles decided to stand and confront JBL about the abuse. Things began to get physical, which led to Styles dropping JBL with one punch.
Oh my God!
And giving him a nice cut under his eye. Several WWE employees had to step in and break it up before the damage had already been done. And those employees got in there just before Joey Styles killed JBL.
Again. Oh my God! And speaking of oh my God moments, Batista is expected to miss several months of ring time as a result of a torn hamstring. The injury began giving him problems during the European tour and has worsened since. His injury is serious enough that he is expected to undergo surgery soon. Randy Orton's punt kick to his head on the December 15th edition of Raw was the storyline reason for Batista's disappearance from TV. Batista is expected to be out of action until June at the latest, with a worst case scenario being August. Of course, he will be missing WrestleMania 25. The original plan was for him to actually turn heel, and it would set up a rivalry between him and John Cena because they really wanted another John Cena-Batista rivalry. But unfortunately, we're not going to get to see that, ladies and gentlemen. More than likely. And in other news, speaking of injuries, former WWE star Robert Malliot, I think that's how I pronounce it, who performed as Kurgan in the Oddities back in the Attitude Era of the WWE, accidentally knocked out actor Robert Downey Jr. with a punch while filming a fight scene for the upcoming Sherlock Holmes film, where Downey plays the title character. Downey needed 6 stitches to his chin from the punch. Although once he retained his bearings, he tried to downplay his injury and refused to go to a hospital to be looked over. Man.
That's why he's Iron Man. That's why he's better than Christian Bale. Alright, moving on to TNA news. According to data compiled by the video game sales charts at the website bgcharts.com, Midway Games' release of the TNA Impact game has sold 450,000 copies total across video game platforms, which includes the Nintendo Wii, Xbox 360, PS3, and PS2. Which, by the way, don't get it on PS2. It sucks. And that's only what they got the first 10 weeks out, so I don't think that includes Christmas. These numbers are said to be below expectation for both companies. Despite the company's problems with Midway and the lackluster video game sales for TNA Impact, it was reported that in October that a sequel is in the works. So they're still going to work on it. Let's just don't get it on PS2. Which in the next game they're looking to add the TNA Knockouts and the 6 Sides of Steel. You better add more than that. On top of that, now, as if the game didn't have any other bad luck, Midway Games is making some cutbacks. The Austin, Texas studio is closing, and their Chicago and San Diego affiliates will remain open. But it's serious staff cuts there. All games have been put on hold except 2, which means they will not work on the TNA Impact 2 for an indefinite time.
Gosh, that really sucks too. I mean, although just like you said earlier, there is a lot more to be improved than just a lousy 6 Sides of Steel and TNA Knockouts. Gameplay comes first. Anyways, speaking of games, remember that main character Suicide? He's being played by, Kaz on the in real life TNA wrestling. But speaking of Kaz, it's being reported that he suffered a bicep injury at the December 15th taping of Impact. This is bad news considering Kaz just got back from an injury. Kaz has been out for a long time due to torn triceps, and now it seems that he'll have to miss another 6 months if it all goes well. TNA still hasn't decided whether someone else will have to play Suicide or whether the character will be dropped. Personally, just go for another character. I mean, it worked for Kane in The Ultimate Warrior, as I've been told, so it could work for Suicide. I mean, heck, look at Hollywood alone. There were 3 Batmans in the previous Batman franchise, and no one seemed to have noticed that.
They could get Christopher Daniels.
Perfect.
He just lost his job as Curry Man. He can sneak back in as Suicide. Anyway, let's move on to some of our individual stories. Wrestling.
On to my individual news. Former WWE star Scott Hall and the Insane Clown Posse are saying they are going to be at the Joe Louis Arena for January's Royal Rumble that I can hardly wait for. And TNA star Kurt Angle has been telling friends that he is seriously considering returning to the WWE once his TNA contract expires next fall. Angle has even gone so far as to say that if he had a choice right now and the WWE gave him a contract, he'd probably jump ship. Speaking of TNA, LAX has just signed another 3-year contract with TNA. This comes as a relief to some TNA officials because there were some rumors of them being unhappy at the prospect of getting split up down the line. And on WWE news, R-Truth just got engaged recently to his longtime girlfriend and soon to be his wife. She is not part of the wrestling business whatsoever. There is no word on when the wedding will be yet, but we will let you know when it's announced. Speaking of killings, he was detained at the Canadian border upon his arrival in Toronto this past month. Killings was refused entry into the Canadian border and sent home as a result. Now, speaking of stars in WWE, Raw superstar Gene Snitsky was released on the 11th of December, and it seems he'll always have a souvenir to keep with him in the from the WWE, because he had those little gimmick with his teeth, the yellow teeth. He actually decided to keep it dyed. So unless Snitsky gets another small cosmetic correction, he'll hear "brush your teeth" for a very long time. And lastly, in my news, Randy Orton has been telling friends that the WWE has offered him a 10-year contract, reports ProWrestling.net. Although there is still no word on whether Orton will agree to the deal, it says a lot about their faith in the young superstar. Part of his contract states that if someone needs some time off, that he'll give him a punt to the head. And speaking of contracts, WWE is also looking to sign Rey Mysterio to a 5-year deal, but he only wants a 3-year contract. I don't know what's going to go on with that.